Hello. The following is a general overview of the Latino population that we may work with as clients. With the 2000 census, Latinos became the largest racial minority in the United States, 12.5% of the U.S. population. These figures represent an increase of 58% over the last decade, and are in actuality an underestimation because they do not reflect the influx of undocumented and illegal migrants who are continually entering the United States. There are estimates on illegal immigration at approximately 200,000 per year. As a collective, Latinos are quite a diverse group, including individuals whose roots are in Mexico, Cuba, Puerto Rico, and Central and South America. Those of Mexican descent make up 64% of the Hispanic population. Puerto Ricans make up 10%, Cubans 4%, and South and Central Americans 10%. For the purpose of census data, the government considers race and Hispanic origins as two separate and distinct concepts. The term Hispanic is used to denote a common Spanish-speaking background. A notable exception for the individuals, Latinos of Brazilian descent, whose native language is Portuguese. Racially, individuals of Mexican descent identify their roots as mestizo, a mixture of Spanish and Indian backgrounds. Puerto Ricans consider themselves of Spanish descent, Cubans of Spanish and Black descent, and Latin Americans of having varying mixtures of Spanish, Japanese, Italian, and Black heritage. In the 2000 census, 48% of Hispanics identified themselves as white alone, and 42% as white and one other race. Geographically, the Latino population are largely urban and concentrated in the Southwest, Northeast, and the state of Florida, according to country of origin. Mexicans Americans are notoriously in the states of Texas, California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Illinois, where they make up the significant proportion of the state's population. Puerto Ricans are in large part in the northeastern urban areas. Cubans are in the Miami area, and the vast majority of Latinos are Spanish-speaking, Roman Catholic, and share a set of cultural characteristics that are described later on. One must be careful, however, not to underemphasize the differences amongst each of these different groups. There are as many differences as there are similarities. Claude de Alva, for example, points out that different Hispanic groups, generally concentrated in different regions of the country, have little knowledge of each other and are often as surprised as non-Hispanics to discover the cultural gulfs that separate them. Compared to non-Hispanics, Latinos tend to be younger, on average, younger than 30 years old, and younger by 9 years than the average white American. They tend to be poorer. 40% of Hispanic children live below the poverty line. Less educated. Approximately 30% leave high school before graduation, the highest rate of all minorities. In 2014, 35% of Hispanics ages 18 to 24 were enrolled in a 2 or 4 year college. However, just 15% of Hispanics completed and obtained a bachelor's degree or higher. That means that 1 in 10 Latinos are obtaining a bachelor's degree. That is 1 in 10. Studies show that Hispanics are also more consistently unemployed or regulated to unskilled and semi-skilled jobs. A unique set of factors related to their entry and circumstances in the United States puts Latinos at high risk for physical and psychological difficulties. Included are pressures around bilingualism, immigration, rapid acculturation, adjustment to the American society, intergenerational and cultural conflict, poverty, racism, and the loss of cultural identity. Now I'd like to speak a little bit more about the family and cultural values. As a collective, the Latino subgroups share a common language, which is Spanish, a religion, Roman Catholicism, and a series of cultural values that define and structure group life. These are some of those following shared values. Importance of the family, both nuclear and extended. Emphasis on interdependence and cooperation. Emphasis on the worth and dignity of the individual. Valuing of the spiritual side of life. Acceptance of life as it exists. Some additional and more significant shared values are the importance placed on family unity, welfare, and honor. The emphasis is on the group rather than the individual. There is a deep sense of family, commitment, obligation, and responsibility. The family guarantees protection and caretaking for life as long as the person stays within the system. The expectation is that when a person is having problems, others will help, especially those in stable positions. The family is usually an extended system that encompasses not only related by blood and marriage, but also godparents, or known as compadres, and adopted children, whose adoption is not necessarily legal, hijos de crianza. The compadrazgo, or the godparent notion, is a system of ritual, kinship, and binding mutual obligations for economic assistance, encouragement, and even personal correction. Family members may adopt children of their extended families and refer to the practice of transferring children from one nuclear family to another in times of crisis. The others assume responsibility as if children were their own and do not view the practice as neglectful. Family roles and duties are highly structured and traditional, as are sex roles, which are referred to as machismo and marionismo. Males, the elderly, and parents are afforded special respect, and children are expected to be obedient and deferential. They contribute to family finances, care for younger siblings, and act as parent surrogates. Males are expected to exhibit strength, virility, dominance, and provide for the family. Females are expected to be nurturing, submit to hierarchical traditions of males, and self-sacrifice. Both boys and girls are socialized into these roles early on. Boys are given far more freedom, encouraged to be aggressive and act manly, and discouraged from playing with girls and engaging in female activities. Girls are trained early in household activities and are severely sheltered and restricted as they grow older. The authoritative structure of the family also reflects a broader characteristic of Latino culture, which includes the valuing of conformity, obedience, deference to authority, and subservient social order. Professionals and helpers who disrespect this power distance by de-emphasizing their authority, trying to make the interaction more democratic, communicating directly, or using subtle forms of control such as sarcasm and causing an individual to lose faith, tend to confuse, alienate, and disrespect Latino clients. Unlike mainstream American culture, where respect is garnered through achievements, status, and wealth, the individual in the Latino culture merits respect by the very fact of his or her humanity. Competing, undermining the efforts of another, asserting one's individuality, and working to inflate one's ego are all viewed negatively in the Latino culture. A final series of values within the Latino culture relate to beliefs fostered by the Roman Catholic Church. These include focus on spirituality and the life of the spirit, fatalistic acceptance of life as it exists, time-oriented toward the present. Latino culture places much emphasis on non-rational experiences, as it does on the material world. Belief in visions, omens, spirits, and spiritual healers is commonplace, and such phenomena are viewed from within the culture as normative rather than pathological. Latinos are also willing to forego and even sacrifice material comfort in pursuit of spiritual goals. Yamamoto and Acosta write about and give examples that suggest that the Latino church emphasizes that sacrifice in this world promotes salvation, that one must be charitable, and that wrongs against the person should be endured. Additional reading by Sue and Sue assert that because of such beliefs, many Hispanics have difficulty behaving assertively. They feel that problems or events are meant to be and cannot be changed. This relates in turn to a time orientation, to the present, that is shared by most Latinos. Focus tends to be on the here and now, not on what has happened in the past or what will happen in the future. Present-oriented cultures place special value on the nature and quality of interpersonal relationship, as opposed to the history and functionality. Such an orientation and physiological related to a kind of fatalism and particularly common in people who suffer economic deprivation and powerless and find themselves at the whim of mercy of those with more power. Now I invite you to review some of the additional resources that are listed in the module overview for some additional insight to this client demographic. And please keep in mind that this is merely a generalistic overview of this target population, the Latino client.